Imagine this. A judge, right? Someone who's sworn to uphold the law, but is actually secretly twisting it.
Using it to commit, well, truly terrible crimes.
Exactly. And that's not just some TV drama plotline. It's the core of John Grisham's The Judge's List.
It's a chilling concept.
So today we're going to get into this legal thriller. We'll look at the plot, the characters, the big ideas Grisham is playing with here.
And it really does make you think, doesn't it? That kind of deep reflection.
Yeah, speaking of which, it reminds me a bit of the approach you see on channels like Mindful Moments over on YouTube.
Oh, right, where they use AI for book analysis.
Mm-hmm. They really push you to think critically about the stories we take in, a similar goal to what we're aiming for here, really.
Absolutely. And Grisham gives us plenty to think about right from the start. He sets up these two very different tracks towards justice.
You mean Lacy Stoltz and Jerry Crosby?
Precisely. Lacy, she's working inside the system, the formal judicial process.
Yeah.
Jerry's outside pushing relentlessly on her own.
It creates this immediate tension, this dynamic.
Yeah, it does.
So let's break that down a bit. Lacy, she's got experience with the board on judicial conduct. She knows the system.
She does, but she's also, limited by it. The rules, the procedures, what the board is actually allowed to do.
Right. Her hands are tied in some ways.
And that really shows the system's limits, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
A board is set up for judicial oversight, maybe misconduct.
Not for catching a serial killer who happens to be a judge.
Exactly. It's not equipped for that kind of criminal investigation. That's a major weak spot right there.
Okay, so then there's Jerry. She's driven by something incredibly personal, her father's murder.
And she's just going for it.
Hmm?
No legal red tape holding her back.
But also none of the official backup, right? No resources, no authority.
It's a stark contrast.
Yeah.
How do you get accountability? Inside the lines or outside?
In Jerry's investigation, it really highlights how someone can exploit the gaps in that formal system.
Yeah, the stuff she uncovers, the circumstantial bits.
Yeah.
It's outside what the board or even regular law enforcement might easily find. Shows you the blind spot.
And this is where Judge Bannock becomes such a fascinating villain. He's not just breaking the law. He knows the law inside out.
Oh, absolutely. He uses his understanding of the legal system, its complexities.
As a shield, as a weapon even.
Definitely. His expertise is actually part of his criminal toolkit.
Yeah.
It helps him dodge detection for decades.
And his position, his reputation, it makes him the last person anyone would suspect.
That's the chilling part. Institutional power, when it's corrupted like that, it can be almost impenetrable.
Plus, his methods are so meticulous. The planning, the timing years between killings, very calculated.
All designed to avoid patterns, to avoid suspicion.
And then there's this backstory, the motivation, rooted in this really disturbing history of abuse.
It paints a grim picture, doesn't it? How trauma, unresolved trauma, combined with maybe a certain personality type.
Like narcissism.
Right. Can twist someone into becoming a perpetrator themselves. Victim to villain.
When you look at the bigger picture, the fact that Bannock got away with it for so long, it's a serious wake-up call, isn't it?
It really is. It shows how our systems for accountability can, fail. Especially with powerful people who know how to game the system.
The novel brings in a very modern angle, too.
Yeah,
technology.
It's the spyware.
Bannock uses it to watch people he sees as threats.
But then Jerry cleverly flips it on him. Uses his own digital tools against him.
It raises that classic point about technology being a double-edged sword in crime,
Totally.
Yeah.
And Grisham contrasts Bannock's sort of high-tech surveillance with Lacy's more traditional police work.
Yeah, it suggests that even now, with all this tech, the basic shoe leather investigation still matters.
Mm-hmm. Foundational methods are still crucial.
Thinking about these different ways of investigating and different ways to understand a complex story, it makes me think again about resources like Mindful Moments and also just the sheer variety of discussions you find on different podcasts now.
Right. They offer different viewpoints, different angles on the same material.
Which can really enrich how you understand something like The Judge's List,
Yeah.
Helps you think about the characters' motives, the deeper themes.
Yeah, that's a good point. And even with all the tech talk, what really breaks the case open?
The thumbprint, right.
Exactly. That partial thumbprint found in Bannock's truck.
Yeah.
Good old-fashioned forensic evidence.
It underscores how important that tangible detail still is, even in a story filled with digital intrigue.
Absolutely. It's a classic legal thriller element.
Can we talk about Lacy's arc for a moment, her journey through the story?
Yeah, she changes quite a bit.
She starts off seeming a little worn down maybe by the bureaucracy of her job.
A bit disillusioned, perhaps?
But getting involved in the Bannock case, especially after her promotion, it seems to reignite something in her.
It's a stronger commitment, maybe? A renewed sense of why she does what she does. Idealism creeping back in.
Yeah. And her relationship with her brother, Gunther, that feels important too.
It does. It kind of grounds her, connects her to life outside these incredibly intense, high-stakes cases, shows the personal toll.
And speaking of personal toll, let's look at Jerry again. Her dedication is understandable, wanting justice for her father.
But it's all-consuming, isn't it?
Totally. It affects her relationships, puts her in real danger, makes you wonder about the cost of seeking justice outside the proper channels.
What sacrifices are involved? It's a heavy question.
And this loops back to the limits of institutions like the Board on Judicial Conduct,
Which Bannock exploits so effectively.
right. The fact that Lacy, even suspecting him, can't just go and prosecute him directly, it shows the complications.
The jurisdictional walls, the difficulties of different agencies working together when you're targeting someone that powerful.
So ultimately, the judge's list is, yes, a gripping story.
Definitely keeps you turning pages.
But it's also saying something pretty serious about the vulnerabilities in our legal system.
That these institutions aren't foolproof, especially when power isn't checked properly.
But there is a sense of hope at the end, wouldn't you say?
I think so. Bannock is brought down, and it's because of Jerry's relentless pursuit from the outside.
And Lacy's smart moves within the system.
Exactly. It suggests maybe you need both. That combination of outside pressure and internal action, driven by people who are truly committed to justice, can overcome even deep-seated flaws.
Okay, so let's recap a little. We've talked about how the novel really shines a light on institutional weaknesses, right? How power can shield people.
Mm-hmm. And the ethical questions around vigilantism, what happens when the official system seems to fail.
We touched on technology, too, that double-edged sword and fighting crime.
And the human side, Lacy finding her idealism again within that bureaucracy, and Jerry's incredibly risky quest for vengeance.
Right. And as you mull over these ideas, maybe think about how getting different takes, like from places like Mindful Moments or, the various podcasts out there, can really deepen your understanding of stories like this.
Different perspectives add layers.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. Can we ever get true justice when the very systems designed to deliver it are vulnerable to corruption from within?
And what's the personal cost? The real human price of trying to find accountability when you have to step outside those established systems.
Lots to think about there. If this discussion piqued your interest, definitely consider subscribing to our channel for more analyses like this one.
Yeah, and share it with anyone you know who enjoys a thriller that actually makes you think, that has these layers of legal and ethical questions.
You can find a link to buy the judge's list in the show notes if you want to read it yourself.
And most importantly, just keep thinking critically about the stories you read, the shows you watch, how they shape our view of the world,